Hey guys, we're going to talk about air pollution, chapter 18, and I'm going to do this in a few videos. I've only got 10 minutes per video, so we'll go pretty quick. So you can pause this video at any time, and you can also go and look at the Google slide presentation that is also posted. So not going to give you a whole lot of time to sit and write notes like we would in class, but you can pause this video to fill in where you need to. So we'll talk about what causes air pollution first, and then we will talk about after that what we're going to do about the air pollution that's currently out there. There's two types of air pollutants. First type is primary air pollutants, and those are pollutants that are put directly into the atmosphere that can cause harm to human health or the environment. Things like nitrogen oxides and particulate matter and carbon monoxide, those are examples of primary air pollutants. And we'll talk about all six of them in the slides that follow. Primary pollutants are in opposition, or I guess in contrast, not opposition, but in contrast to secondary air pollutants, where secondary air pollutants are a result of a primary air pollutant mixed with something that's already naturally occurring in the atmosphere. The example would be acid rain. Sulfur dioxide is released in the atmosphere as a primary pollutant. It combines with oxygen and water in the air to form sulfuric acid, which is acid rain. And we'll talk about the secondary air pollutants of acid rain, smog, and ground level ozone. First, let's talk about the primary pollutants. First off is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that is poisonous, and it is caused by the incomplete combustion of fossil fuels. There's no combustion that's 100% accurate or 100% effective, right? So when you burn gasoline in your car, not all of that gasoline is burned. Some of it is partially burned. And that partially burned fossil fuel, that gasoline, turns into carbon monoxide and is released in the atmosphere. One thing of particular importance is if you have a natural gas furnace in your house as a heater, if you don't have it vented properly or something goes wrong with it and it doesn't burn all that gas or exhaust all that gas, carbon monoxide can build up in your home, and when you go to sleep, you won't even know it. And there's always reports every year of people having this problem and go to sleep at night thinking everything's good and just don't wake up in the morning. So if you do have a gas furnace, you probably need to have a carbon monoxide detector, just like a fire alarm, and it'll give you a warning. But the reason why it's poisonous is because your red blood cells have more of an affinity for carbon monoxide than they do for oxygen, even though their job is to carry oxygen. If they have the option of carrying carbon monoxide, they'll do that instead. And your brain does not use carbon monoxide; it uses oxygen, so you won't have any oxygen to your brain. Next up is nitrogen oxides. These are released when you combust fossil fuels at a high temperature. So we're talking about industrial exhaust and also exhaust from your vehicles. And NOx gases, nitrogen oxides, cause respiratory infections, also have been known to cause cancer, and it's also a major contributor to smog and to acid rain, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Next on the list are sulfur oxides, in particular sulfur dioxide. This is mostly caused by the burning of coal. Because when we mine coal, it still has a little bit of sulfur in it. Even the clean coal that you've heard about is 2 to 4% sulfur, and when we burn that, it gets into the atmosphere, and SO2 contributes to acid rain, and it also can cause respiratory problems as well. Fourth on the list are volatile organic compounds. Volatile means that it evaporates easily. It volatilizes. And organic is obviously carbon-based. So carbon-based chemicals that make toxic fumes. Gasoline is one of them. VOCs contribute to smog production, and they are also carcinogens. Last on this list, fifth, is particulate matter. You may see it reported as PM10 or PM2.5, and the 10 or the 2.5 just tells you how the diameter, the width of the diameter in micrometers. So anything below a 2.5 would be less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, which is so small it can go right through into your lungs, right through your respiratory system, into your lungs, and cause problems. The bigger the particulate, the more able your body is to filter it out before it gets there. A lot of particulates come from construction, when you plow up a field, when you cut trees, when forest has fires. In the springtime, all the pollen that's around, those are particulate matter as well. When you cut grass, things like that. So they're thinking that some particulates may cause cancer, especially when they build up in your lungs. But mainly it's a problem for sight, and also it starts to destroy man-made structures. So I told you that there were 6 primary pollutants, and we've gone over 5. The last one is one that you would think that's more a water pollutant than an air pollutant, but it is lead. There's a lot of lead being released from industrial manufacturing processes. But the main source of lead is not a source anymore because it's been banned, but it used to be in gasoline. Before the 1970s, we had leaded gasoline. That's why you go to the pump now and you fill up with unleaded. It was used as an anti-knocking agent and a lubricant for your engine, so it was pretty good gasoline for that. But we realized that it was letting out lead into the atmosphere, which was not so good. So we began to phase it out in the 1970s, and there was an all-out ban in, I think, 1995. So that's where a lot of the lead in the atmosphere came from, but it's still getting out there in manufacturing processes. And we're not the only country that drives. And even though we're not the only country that has banned leaded gasoline, I'm sure there's still some leaded gasoline being burned out there somewhere in the world. I encourage you to go to the Google slide presentation and watch the next 2 videos. They're pretty quick. I think they're like 5 minutes long, but one of them is outside Beijing, China, and it's just a news report on the world's most polluted city. And the other one is a news report on Delhi, India, which took over as the world's most